Good morning, everybody. I am Penny Fosten. I'm the Chief Executive of Arts for Dementia. Welcome to our webinar this morning. I'm going to invite my fellow speakers, Alex, Holly and Anna, to join me on screen for a minute. If you guys could put your cameras on. Hi. Welcome to our webinar. As I said, I'm Penny Fosten, I'm the Chief Exec at Arts for Dementia, and we're really excited how many people have registered to join us this morning, and I think from all over the world. We've had some lovely email addresses popping up in the registration. So maybe to start with, could people use the chat to say hello and maybe where they're joining from, both kind of geographically but also which organisation they're from. I'm on the edges of sunny Kent at the moment, which is lovely. Yes, we'd just be good to hear where people are coming from. And if you've got any questions for our panellists throughout the session, please do use the Q&A function. We'll be using that for answering questions at the end of the day, so at the end of the session. So please do use those. We've hopefully have 10 or 15 minutes for that. Today's webinar is part of our work for Creativity and Wellbeing Week, and it's Dementia Action Week as well today. So it's a really amazing, perfect combination for us at Arts for Dementia. If you haven't seen our social media this week, do have a look, because we've been sharing some fantastic bits of poetry from Maya Angelou and a gorgeous dance video of people dancing across London, and really encouraging people to get creative themselves in response to what we're sharing. I'm really enjoying seeing all the hellos from Bloomsbury, lots of London people, West Kirby, great. Oh, Rome, lovely. Welcome everybody, wherever you are, it's fantastic. So just to get started with the webinar, we've got 3 speakers, so you can see their faces, and I've got some images from some of our work. So Holly is coming up a bit later. She's from the lovely Wallace collection that you can see in the bottom right there. Alex from Central St Martin's, who's there in a photo with a workshop that we did with them recently. And Anna from Arts and Health. I didn't have a photo of you, Anna, I'm so sorry, so I got your logo instead. But yeah, you'll be hearing from them shortly. But I thought I'd just give you a little overview of Arts for Dementia. So our vision is nationwide access to artistic stimulation that enables all people with dementia to live more fulfilled, active lives at home and in the community. And we do that in various ways. I suppose that the main thing for us is that our focus is primarily on the early stages of dementia, where people are maybe going through diagnosis or quite soon after a diagnosis and still living at home. So what we do is a few different things. We deliver workshops in collaboration with artists and fantastic cultural venues like Central St Martin's and the Wallace collection. We've got something coming up with the Science Museum, community spaces, as well as working in collaboration with older adults and dementia-related organisations to kind of spread the word and get people out there. And we're really keen to bring people with dementia and a companion together to enjoy all sorts of different arts practices, from dance that you can see there, to sculpting with clay, to singing, to fine arts and drama. And bringing them together to do something joyful, delightful, and creative. So we do some of that ourselves. We also train up people, artists and people from the kind of learning and curating teams at museums and galleries, so that they can understand a bit more about the early stages of dementia and how to develop and deliver a good event or a workshop programme for people with dementia. We've also got a great events listing of events that organisations across the country are running for people living with dementia, because we're really keen to kind of, if you've got an activity for people living with dementia, you can put it on our website. We're really keen for kind of creative activities to be found and experienced and enjoyed by people. So please do add that. And we also do advocacy about this work. So recently, a lot of our focus has been on social prescribing, particularly making sure that the real value of the arts for people living with dementia and their carers is kind of understood across the world of social prescribing. And Anna will talk later about the impact of the arts for health in general, but it's just can be so fantastic. So just to talk a little bit about what we know the impact can be of participation in the arts for people living with dementia. And for us, it's the participation piece that can make a real difference, that they're not passive viewers of something, but getting their hands dirty or moving their bodies, or getting really physically involved. So one of the things that we found is that sometimes people can feel as though opportunities might be closing down for them, and that a diagnosis of dementia can be very difficult for all sorts of the person themselves and lots of family and friends around as well. But we know that doing something potentially new, potentially feeling challenging, but really importantly, that's fun, can have a huge impact on the kind of well-being and happiness of people and help them connect with each other in a different way. I was at the Alzheimer's Society conference yesterday, and one of the professors who was talking was saying that when he's encouraged people to go to Singing for the Brain, as well as prescribing them medication, when he checks in with them, they never say, oh, the medication, it's been wonderful, but they do say Singing for the Brain has been amazing. You know, those sorts of activities, the thing that bring the joy for people and that kind of connection. So that feels really important. As well, on the slide, you can see there's stuff about maximizing cognitive function. When you're thinking and doing something physical, it uses all sorts of different parts of your brain, and that can be really, really important. And it's this sense of capability that people can have when they've created something beautiful, written something that they didn't think they could write a poem, and then they found that they've written something beautiful. It can really give people that sense of self-esteem and self-worth. What we know when we do our programs and our evaluations is that over 90% of the people who participate say that their mood was better. And one of our evaluations said that lift of mood lasted overnight for 94% of people, and for a week for 60% of people. So it's not just in the moment, but actually that the mood and a sense of energized can really last for people. So that was a short bit about Arts for Dementia. I'm gonna come back at the end with the video with a couple of our participants that my lovely colleague Emily did. And yeah, so you'll get kind of to hear from them for about 10 minutes at the end. But first, I'm going to hand over to Holly. So Holly, we've done some in-person events, we've done some online programs with you. Would you like to just talk to us about your work with people living with dementia, and also with us at Arts for Dementia?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Penny. Firstly, thank you, Penny, for inviting me here to speak today. It's wonderful to be included, particularly amongst some wonderful other speakers too. So I'm very much appreciative of your invitation for me to speak today. And good morning, everyone. So I'm joining from London. I look slightly like I'm in the cupboard at the moment, but I am actually at work. I am actually downstairs at the Wallace Collection. Yes, good morning. My name's Holly. I'm the community learning producer at the Wallace Collection. Today I'm going to talk to you a bit about some of the projects that we have run, and we do run, for people living with dementia and carers, a bit about how we measure impact of those programs, and some of our priorities going forwards that we'd like to kind of focus on, and some resources that we developed that I thought you might be interested in. So just firstly, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Wallace Collection, we're a national museum, and we're housed in a historic townhouse just behind Oxford Street, slightly hidden away. The house once belonged to a family called the Marquises of Hertford, and it housed their own personal family collection of fine art, porcelain, furniture, arms and armour, and much, much more. So I've given you some kind of images on the screen just to give you a little flavour of some of the sort of objects and rooms at the museum. We opened as a museum in 1900, and we're a free museum and open 7 days a week. And we deliver a programme for a really wide range of audiences, from schools, families, young people. But today I'm going to kind of specifically focus on the work that we do for people with dementia and their carers. The Out of the Frame programme. So our Out of the Frame programme is the name given to our programme that engages people living with dementia and their carers. And I kind of stress carers because I think a lot of what we see is that there is as much benefit to carers as there is to those living with dementia too. And our programme really tries to kind of incorporate and involve both carer and participant too. And we run this programme in a kind of number of different settings. That includes day centres, memory cafes, community centres, care homes, hospitals, and also at the Wallace Collection too. So we kind of run this programme in a kind of really varied number of settings. Sessions vary from kind of large group discussions to more one-to-one conversations, and we really try and tailor the sessions to the needs of the group as much as possible. We take a kind of broad theme as a starting point, so something like travel or seasons or weather, and we choose a few artworks from the Wallace collection to kind of introduce a theme. So it's really about responding to works from the Wallace collection. I think something that kind of makes this program unique is that we very much take a person-centered approach. So no two out of the frame sessions are the same. We don't have a kind of a strict lesson plan or strict session plans that we try to follow. We really kind of try to respond to the needs of the individuals and the groups that we meet kind of there and then. So it's very much a kind of responsive program in that sense. And we very much it's very much about using art as a stimulus for conversation and discussion. Sometimes we do a practical element as part of that. We do some creative responses as well, but it's all about how we can use art to kind of stimulate conversation and with each other. It's very much about that. And it's very much about inviting people to connect, not only with art, with the artworks, with paintings, with everything like that, but it's also to connect with each other and connect with people, connect with the group and with each other. It's very much about connection as well. So we're not about kind of trying to impart art historical knowledge or anything. It's very much about people sharing their opinions, their views, their responses, and everyone feeling valued in that sense. So kind of leading on from that, it's very much also about active listening. It's very much about encouraging people to look, to respond, and give them time and to process and respond. So that's kind of why listening is very much an important part of that. So we kind of encourage our approach is very much about asking open-ended questions, kind of what do you see, what do you notice, what more can we find? I don't know if anyone's ever heard of visual thinking strategies, but we kind of adopt that approach in our sessions. The use of handling objects is also very important, particularly for those living with dementia. I think sometimes just having that sensory element can really kind of bring a session to life, and that doesn't necessarily mean having replica museum objects. It can be very kind of, it's about kind of introducing playful elements, so items of jewelry, clothing, hats, as you can kind of see on your screen here, some photos from sessions, even just little things like that can really introduces a kind of playful element to the sessions too. It's about having fun, and it's about enjoying ourselves as much as anything. Sometimes other things like scents or smells are also really important. So we, if we're looking at a kind of landscape painting, sometimes we'll bring some hay or bring a kind of bottle of rose water for people to smell and feel to kind of bring those paintings to life. I think that's something that we really that we really kind of encourage and use as part of our sessions. Another kind of sort of key thing that we kind of focus on is that we only really try and look at 2 or 3 artworks at a time. I think sometimes when you go into a museum, you really feel like you have to see everything, but we really encourage people to kind of take time to just be with 1 or 2 artworks, to take time to really look and respond. So I think that's a real big part of it, but it's like looking and taking the time to respond. And kind of leading on from that, I think one of the key things that we love doing is working in partnership with organisations. I think that's something that we're really keen to do, and we do a lot of. So if any of you are ever interested in exploring partnership opportunities, please do get in touch. Obviously, it's wonderful that we work with Arts for Dementia. They're a really kind of wonderful partner for us. So thank you for kind of working with us. And also kind of just linked to that, obviously we had to change quite a lot of our work during the pandemic, as I'm sure many people did. So we kind of shifted to this online model. And we worked with Arts for Dementia on an 8-week online programme for people living with dementia. Arts for Dementia kind of recruited participants. And I think there's a lot of benefit to working online. I think particularly in terms of being able to look at in detail at things. I think that's something that you can't necessarily do when you're just looking at one printed image. I think that opportunity to really take time to zoom in on details, and also just widening participation. So I think a couple of the participants on this Arts for Dementia project, one of them was joining from Luton, one of them was joining from Worthing. And I think if those individuals wouldn't have been able to engage with us if they'd had to kind of come to the Wallace, for example. So for us, expanding that reach and reaching people nationally is really important for us. And I think that's something that we're going to continue to do, and we're going to continue to work online. So working online has been a kind of real benefit for us. And I would be really interested to hear from others if that's something that you're going to continue to. So just a little bit about measuring impact, and apologies in advance for this very, very wordy slide. But I really want to kind of stress that we do see a lot of benefit in engaging in arts-based activities, both for those living with dementia and carers too. We decided to review our evaluation framework in October 2020, as we wanted to really embed the 5 ways to wellbeing across our evaluation, to build a deeper understanding of how our programme, and if our programme does in fact affect the kind of social and mental wellbeing of its participants. So we've embedded those 5 ways, and I've going to kind of give you an example here of some of the things that we particularly look for in sessions, particularly linked to the 5 ways of wellbeing. So connecting, I think connecting is a really important thing that we've noticed, and that can be connecting with artworks, but particularly connecting with each other. People are inspired to kind of talk to each other. You learn things about each other through asking questions about what's in front of you. I think that's something that we've really noticed. I think that's one of the strongest one of the strongest of the 5 ways that we see. Taking notice as well. Noticing your surroundings, noticing details, noticing things that you didn't see before, learning about each other, being active. Again, that can be actively listening, actively contributing, but also we sometimes introduce movement as part of the sessions, sort of simple chair-based exercises, that kind of things, gesturing. There's a lot of being active, and giving as well. Giving is really important. So giving of each other, asking questions of each other, and sharing as well. So those are some of the kind of key things that we look for, and we really do see those kind of across the programs that we run. And one thing that I did also just want to briefly mention, something that we developed last year is a toolkit for ways of looking at art. Something that we found is sometimes individuals feel that they want to talk about art more or use art more, but they're not quite sure how. So we've distilled some of our key learnings from our programme into a kind of ways of looking resource. This was developed with NAPA. They're a charity that they kind of specifically support activity coordinators in care homes, but they're really about promoting arts-based activities. And this resource is for people, that can be for volunteers or family members, if you want to just incorporate, or if you want to think about ways of looking at art in just everyday conversations. And that doesn't mean, running an hour-long session. That can literally be a 5-minute conversation with someone, literally just 5 minutes looking at a postcard. Really, really simple. But we've developed a sort of toolkit for some things that we've found really useful. So we've wanted to share that. So that's on our website, if you did want to look at that, about kind of incorporating arts into just everyday conversations, essentially encouraging looking. And then just going forwards, in terms of our priorities going forward, so we're going to continue to offer a hybrid offer, combination of online sessions, telephone conference sessions. Those have been really popular, where we do a kind of group telephone conference call with people, and obviously in person as well. It's been great to return to in-person sessions, so we're going to continue offering this hybrid offer to meet different people's needs. Mild cognitive stimulation therapy, that's something that we'd like to do more of and think more about. So that's essentially a weekly kind of 1 to 2 hour long program for people living with mild to moderate dementia. I think Age UK are currently rolling out a program where we're going to work with them on a couple of their programs, and that it's a kind of 14-week program for people, and hopefully we'll do the kind of arts-based element of that program. So again, just giving that people the opportunity to engage with us on a more regular basis as well. And then finally, just as it is Creativity and Wellbeing Week, just wanted to mention one further event that we're running this week. We're looking at mindfulness this week, and focusing on our Dutch paintings, as the theme is all about getting outdoors as well. And we're focusing on our landscapes, and we've also got a kind of mindful walk recording for people to use after the session if they want to go outside and explore a mindful walk. And if anyone else has any other questions, please do get in touch with me. That's my email address. I'd love to hear from you, and thank you very much for your time. Sorry if that was a bit brief, but there you go. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly. It's really good to hear about your work and see the kind of breadth of what you're doing, and also giving people some of those kind of tips and techniques of how you approach your activities with people living with dementia. Thank you. Alex, I know that we've been working with Central St Martin's for a while, both online, and then more recently we kind of started the most recent workshop online, and then managed to go in person to Central St Martin's, and we've got another one coming up as well. But do you want to just talk to us about why it's been important for you and for your students to be involved in this work and with us?
Absolutely. So initially, and I might just share my screen to start this off. I don't have screen saving capabilities. Who there, Penny?
You do now.
Oh,
You
great,
should do
fantastic. Thank you so much. Right, there we go. I just share and I go to play. Play from start. Can you see that clearly? Yep.
Yes, great.
Good, good. So this is just a picture of St. Martin, just to give you a sense of the location. It was 2 years ago now that Arts for Dementia first contacted us and suggested that we put together a set of workshops together to explore the possibility of working more jointly moving forward. And initially I responded very positively. And the reason I did was because it was a coincidence, but we'd already started thinking about how running workshops might be not something that we did as extra to what the students were doing on their degree and MA degrees, but rather that it became integral to their practice. So the students think of a workshop as a way of exploring ideas that they might be exploring in the studio, but they're exploring it with a group of participants. So they get a sort of hive mind, if you like, a group of people who might also have things to say about whatever subject the students are thinking about, and that becomes incredibly fruitful and positive for the students. And hopefully, because it's positive for the students, they give lots of enthusiasm and good ideas, and that then becomes positive for the participants. We didn't have experience at Central St. Martin's working with this particular group, and so there was a little bit of trepidation at first, and also the first time we did it, we were in lockdown, so it was all via Zoom, which again posed all sorts of challenges. But actually, I think it's perhaps partly because of that it was so that we took it on with such enthusiasm, because most of our students were very isolated. It wasn't just the participants who might have been feeling isolated, but our students were as well. And this was a chance to get to meet a group of people who they might not ordinarily have a chance to meet, certainly not during lockdown. And well, I'll show you. Let me show you a film, because it's the best way perhaps to show it. This is the inside of the building, just to show you how sort of bonkers and slightly alarming the building is. But if I take you to the next slide, it's one of the films we did in lockdown. It was the first time that we'd worked together where we got a sense that we'd started to figure out how we might develop this.
That's right over my bed, and it's a view in the forest. I feel I know well. Whether it is the same one or not, I don't know, but I feel I've stepped over that little stream many times.
I have a friend who's an artist, and I commissioned her to do this canvas. But okay, we're in the kitchen, but this painting was.
So I'll stop there for a second. The film is, the instructions to produce the film are, we're all in the room together in a Zoom room, and participants are instructed to make a sort of tube of paper with a piece of A4 paper, and to hold it to the camera, so the camera of the Zoom, and then to find things in the room to discuss. And partly, I guess, because it was our art students who had suggested it, partly, I guess, because everyone was coming to an arts event, everyone seemed to focus on art as the subject that was being discussed. So you ended up with this sort of glimpses into people's living rooms where people were simply talking about the art. So there was this sort of coherency to it. It was very surprising and seemed to open up something. And it also used Zoom as a tool for making, rather than simply as a sort of awful reality of life that was sort of permanently behind the glass of the Zoom camera. As I said earlier, but I'll expand on it now. What I didn't want it to feel like was that we were doing some sort of benevolent kind act in running some workshops for someone else. That's I don't think it's any use to anyone. I don't think anyone wants a benevolent act done upon them. What we were really wanting to do with our students is get them to understand what the workshop could be and why it was intrinsic to their practice, so that they wouldn't dumb it down. It doesn't suddenly become sugar paper and potato prints because they're doing a workshop. It's the work they're doing in the studio. It continues the ideas, the themes, the materials they're using in the studio, but they're simply taking those materials out into a different context. Sometimes they have to think about how they adapt them, because if you're doing it via Zoom and you're used to doing painting, what is it that you're going to do to it that allows that to happen? And there was lots of sort of posting packages at breakneck speed to have participants have the right materials. And sometimes it's about finding a way in which a group might do something that you're used to doing by yourself. But what we found for our students, when they did the project, they came back to their studio really much better informed about the realities of what they were exploring, because they'd had a whole set of people respond well, respond with confusion, with excitement to the ideas that they were placing. And that's as a result of having thought it through with the group. we're also, I mean, I have to say, incredibly lucky in that on both cases, both sets of workshops that we've done, the group have been patient beyond belief and unbelievably enthusiastic, and in many ways acted as almost like sort of critics for the students' work. So they in a very kind way, but they talk to the students about things, extend them, push them a little bit, and so there was a real sense that both sides were getting something, hopefully something positive out of it. We were creating an environment in which we opened the doors of the art school, because it's not always the case. Often art schools can seem like they're, you know, certainly the one here feels like it might have landed from outer space, and it's a bit of a sort of, you know, fortress. And this is a way of opening up the doors to the art school, saying actually it should be a facility for everyone, for the local community. It's a way of bringing together, well, in this case, a group of young people who are our second and third years on the BA with a group of slightly less young people, and that's always quite nice to have a sort of mix of ages. In terms of the experience of art that people had, art can be quite strange in that if you've always done art, it feels incredibly easy and accessible. But if you haven't, you can very quickly get to a point where people, I think, feel that I can't draw, I can't do this, and they're not being able to. And this was a way of sort of opening and democratizing access to the arts. Let me show you it. Oh, there. I'm going to show you just a couple of quick glimpses of other films, because it shows you how we did things.
When I was a young lad, we were about 7 or 8 years old. In the summer, at summer holidays from school, we used to have, my mother and stepfather used to take us down in the car down to Devon. Very nice, nice and sunny, very good sand, and we used to go into the sea and have a good time, sloshing about there. And when we came out, we were given an ice cream.
Well, actually, I can't remember. This is it's one of my problems. I'm not alive.
But you said that you remembered cycling.
I had a bike. My first bike was, I was what, 8 years old? Yes, right. And,
I won't play the whole film because it goes on, but what we're doing there is it's not dissimilar to tunnels, but it's to the last one, but it sort of extends it. It's rather than a tube, it's a sheet of reflective paper, and so what you're getting is the eye of the person talking through the hole, but also reflections of the room from the monitor. A lot of our students were interested in using memory, and that was something that, again, seemed really pertinent and useful when working with Arts for Dementia, where we were having to learn again what memory might mean for different groups, depending on how much access they had to their memories. And so it really did, it genuinely pushed the students in a very exciting way. Go back. And there's just one. One second. Oh. What this one is kind of gives you an idea of what happened when the group came into CSM to start working with us directly in the building.
Between the two bricks.
It's a sort of cinematic roll of images that come through. We're calling it clouds, but what's interesting about it is that it's a series of objects that participants were asked to bring in, objects that for some reason had some sort of personal association. The object is then placed on a 3D object, placed on a sheet of plastic, and then it's dusted with talcum powder. The talcum powder then becomes an image of the object or a trace of the object, and then that's projected using an OHP projector, and the participants then, when they see their object, tell us something about the object, share some information about the object and why it might be personally significant. And so here, what we had available to us when the participants came in was completely different. We're certainly not just limited to Zoom, but we can actually work with objects, turning objects into images and films. We were very keen that the outputs mix analog and digital, because again, so often the digital is a realm that seems to be one that's quite exclusive. We were very keen that should be part of what we were doing here, that we wouldn't simply, do art as painting, but it could be art as all those things. And then the last film I'm going to show, because I know I'm running out of time, is looking through a drawing. Again, we start with a drawing. The drawing gets turned into a sculpture, the sculpture gets placed on a turntable, those move, and that then becomes a film when it's filmed. All of the participants' drawings are placed together into a sort of forest of drawings, if you like. But it was really intriguing to see how might we make collaboratively as a group, and that includes the participants, the facilitators, the students who were there just to chat and listen. Okay, I'll stop there. Okay, so two last things, just very, very quickly, I promise. First is that we're doing another set of workshops coming up, and we've ventured even further into the digital realm. We're moving into virtual reality and sort of digital world building for this one. And again, we think we've got the methodology sort of worked out so that it's absolutely straightforward. I always think that if I can do it, anyone can do it, because I'm really not digitally minded. And we're really excited about this coming up very, very soon. And we've got an exhibition of the work done by the students, by the participants, all mixing together. It's happening in the Windows Gallery, and I've got a date for it now, Penny. It looks like it's going to be happening at the end of June. So we've secured that, and so that'd be great to sort of see all that work together, because the amount of work that was produced over a very, very short period of time was really quite incredible. And each session was run by different students, or each activity was run by different students. They've got all their own activities in relation to it, and we're showing their work from their studio in relation to the work that was made together. And so hopefully that'll be a nice way of sort of celebrating what we've done. And yeah, hope the relationship continues to grow. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex. I know the participants, they were really wanting to take everything away with them at the end of the workshops. And we were like, we would like to do an exhibition though. So could we just keep some of them? And it's a really tricky balance. People want to hold on to them as the kind of products, their work, but it would be great to have a proper exhibition in your beautiful Windows gallery.
We were doing some photogrammetry, so we were actually digitally photographing works in the round so that they could take some things away and it'd be told onto the digital asset. So yeah, there was a little bit of that, but that was fun. That was good.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alex. So now Anna. So Anna's the go on, Alex.
I was just going to say the last thing, that we also had loads of free tutors effectively through Arts for Dementia, because as people entered and left the building, they liked wandering through the studios just to see what the students were up to. And I'd often have to go and fish out participants who'd been talking to students for perhaps half an hour on the nature of their work. And all these students got free tutorials. It was absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. So now Anna, so Anna's Chief Exec of London Arts and Health, and so obviously a much broader remit. So Anna, would you like to talk a bit about why the arts are so important for health and particularly for kind of people living with dementia?
Yeah, I will try. So hi, everybody. My name's Anna, and I'm the new director at London Arts and Health. I'm also actually I'm just going to kind of audio describe myself. I know we don't have the captions on today, so I will try and speak very slowly and clearly. Please just put any questions in the chat. I am a white woman. I'm wearing a pair of dark rimmed glasses, and I've got a pink cardigan on today for Creativity and Wellbeing Week. So yeah, I am the director at London Arts and Health. It's so interesting to hear particularly about Alex's work, actually, because I'm also a PhD and a lecturer at Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, where often I'm tutoring or working with students. They are theatre and drama students, but we have a very strong kind of theatre for health strand at Central, and lots of students collaborating, particularly with Dr. Nicola Abraham, who works very much in this field, looking at kind of digital technologies, virtual reality, and using kind of platforms like Zoom in collaborating with people experiencing and living with cognitive impairment or dementia and younger students. So really kind of co-producing work together. So it's really lovely to hear about your presentation, Alex, as well. I am really excited to be here. I'm going to give you a quick kind of overview really about London Arts and Health and just what we can offer you, what we can offer anyone kind of connected with arts for dementia. And particularly, I guess I'm speaking to practitioners today. So it's Creativity and Wellbeing Week. That's why we're all here. Thank you so much to Penny again for organising this event to kick off our Wednesday, our day 3 of Creativity and Wellbeing Week. There's been so many brilliant activities and things kind of launched this week. Last night I was in Parliament, which was very exciting. nearly knocked Rishi Sunak down a flight of stairs, barreled into him, didn't quite realise who he was till I'd nearly pushed him down the stairs. So that was interesting. But I was in committee room 14 last night with a group of young people who were launching the 2.8 million Minds Manifesto. So this is a project that has been run in conjunction with the GLA, the Bearing Foundation, and the artist, the vacuum cleaner, who has brought together young people to create a manifesto for mental health, and, you know, using creativity, using the arts to do that. But what really struck me actually with the link with Arts for Dementia, with everything that, you know, the panelists have been talking about today, is really actually that kind of idea of early kind of intervention. So the young people last night talking really about how they wanted art, good art, access to artists, access to spaces, you know, to do art making and to think through kind of mental health, and how that really mitigates against poor mental health, or the kind of possibility of kind of going into their mental health worsening. And it really struck a chord with me, thinking about this work, thinking about early intervention when there's mild cognitive impairment, when maybe dementia has first been diagnosed, and the importance of the work that, you know, organizations like Arts for Dementia are doing in kind of championing and raising that platform and awareness that, you know, really good quality arts intervention at an early kind of stage can, you know, enhance, prolong, and, you know, maybe even repair, help kind of cognitive, you know, abilities and enjoyment and joy in life, and really, you know, build communities around arts, and give people kind of spaces to just be themselves and have that kind of enjoyment together. So that really kind of struck a chord with me. I'm going to very quickly do a screen share. Hopefully you can see my slides. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about London Arts and Health as well, and what we do, and really make an offer. I've got an offer really for practitioners, for anyone kind of working in this field. And the offer is to kind of help and support and amplify what you are all doing. So our mission at London Arts and Health is to support artists and health professionals across London and really beyond, promoting excellence and engagement in the field of arts and wellbeing, and extending the reach of arts to communities and individuals. And, you know, I think we all agree with this, that many people are often maybe excluded from mainstream art opportunities. But, you know, listening to the projects today, it's clear that people really benefit, you know, their health and wellbeing really benefits from engagement in arts opportunities. And that's what we're here to kind of, as a sector support organisation, raise up and champion. So how do we do this? Well, we are, as I said, a sector support organisation. So you can use us, you can contact us to help with any kind of strategy, networking, connections. We run the festival. So we are in Creativity and Wellbeing Week, which is really exciting. And Victoria Hume at the Culture, Health and Wellbeing Alliance pointed out to me yesterday that it's the 11th year of Creativity and Wellbeing Week, which is fantastic. We offer kind of informal training and peer support, and we also have lots of online resources. So we have a website, a very, very well subscribed newsletter, which goes out every 2 weeks. So if you have an item to include, that could be that you're looking for a practitioner, or you have a publication around arts and dementia and kind of health and creativity, or training, anything like that, we can include that in our newsletter. And this is all free. It's all free for our members. And we have lots of followers on social media as well, again, that we can amplify work to. Madeline, I saw that you raised your hand, so I think we'll come to questions very quickly at the end. I'll whistle stop tour through this. So some of the stuff that we do at London Arts and Health, we have a creative hub. So we have a creative hub in the city by Monument Station, which is essentially free or very low cost, particularly to support practitioners. So you can come and hot desk. We have a very brilliant working kettle, Wi-Fi. It's a really easy place to get to. And you can use that space to work, to collaborate with other artists, with practitioners. We have a kind of messy art space as well, to plan or to try things out if you want to run a small scale workshop and kind of try things out. We also really welcome that in our creative hub. We also do lots of kind of advocacy and strategic thinking around arts, health and wellbeing. So here is a picture of me speaking in March at the end of the Health Tree, which some people might be aware of. The Health Tree was one of the Thriving Communities projects. So at London Arts and Health, we were part of 2 Thriving Communities consortia, which was really looking actually at social prescribing, and for us, cultural social prescribing, which is really important. And that brings me on to another resource that we have, which is the Social Prescribing Mythbuster. So this is an ongoing, living, breathing resource that we have developed with the GLA. And essentially it busts myths around cultural social prescribing. And it does that really through brilliant case studies, of which Arts for Dementia was one of the original case studies. And there's a really brilliant podcast with founder Veronica Franklin Gould. So you can listen a little bit about dementia and referrals. Actually, she talks through referral pathways in social prescribing, and how that can be kind of brokered between the VCSE sector and the cultural and the NHS essentially. So we put together resources like this, and again, we're really, really open to collaborating. So if you have information that you want or need or can contribute, please do get in touch with us. And then, like I've already spoken a lot about this, Creativity and Wellbeing Week. So that's our annual festival with the Culture, Health and Wellbeing Alliance. And it's a national festival. And there's so much good practice being shared this week, which we're really grateful for, to kind of really raise and elevate and shine a spotlight on this work. So I just want to finish off very quickly, and we'll go to questions on a couple of offers for anyone working within, arts, dementia, cognitive impairment. We have 2 things that we can kind of potentially assist you with alongside our resources and our sort of digital platforms where you can share and advertise or seek out, whether that's opportunities, jobs, share publications, etc. So we run a project called the Digital Sandpit, which sounds very fancy. Really, it's just Facebooks and Zoom, but it is becoming a bit more in person now. And that is a monthly curated digital training. It's a peer-led training. If you have something that you want to practice or trial out, and we've had all different kinds of speakers and practice, we can set that up for you. So we can use our network to recruit participants. You can run a digital sandpit session. They tend to be 1 to 2 hours on a very particular topic. So if you have some practice that you want to trial, you have a discussion point, something that you want to kind of iron out, we can essentially recruit like-minded critical friends who can help you do that. And the other thing is that we are the regional lead for the Culture, Health and Wellbeing Alliance, so we can push things up the food chain. So if you have, again, some practice, something that you want to share and be amplified, we can take that to the Culture, Health and Wellbeing Alliance on your behalf, and we can get that on the agenda. So if you have any questions or you would like help, I will put some links in the chat. And thank you so much, Penny, for organising this today. It's been fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. Really good to hear about your work. And I can see people in the chat already going, oh, Anna, we need to connect about this. Oh, Anna, I've got an idea for something. So it sounds like you might be getting some contacts. So before we go to questions, and please do put some in the Q&A, the last thing I'd like to do is to share this. It's about a 10-minute video from some of our participants, Harry, who lives with dementia, and Annette, his wife. And they had a conversation with my lovely colleague, Emily, last week. So I'm just going to share my screen and play the video for you. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, interesting times. Yes. Okay. I don't know why that's not working. Apologies, everybody.
Perfect. So thank you both so much for meeting me. We will go through a couple of questions if you're happy to, just about your involvement with Arts for Dementia and your involvement in Arts Wednesdays as well, which you attend most weeks anyway. So a first question, how did you first come across Arts for Dementia? And what made you want to join Arts for Dementia in the first place?
Well, we were very lucky because the memory service gave us a sheet of possible activities for people with dementia when Harry had his diagnosis. And we saw that the Rambert had a dance program and in their studios on the South Bank, and we went along and had a great time. It was
marvelous fun.
Mm-hmm. And after that, we kept our eye on the your website to see what else is coming up. And I remember, I mean, we've done lots of things, but we went to Clay for Dementia at the Garden Museum. That was a fantastic program.
Yes, absolutely.
And then to the Royal Opera House for the dance, remember?
Yes,
that?
dance, absolutely.
The
pianist and a lovely double row of people, and you would take your partner and dance down between the two aisles of people.
Yeah, it was a success too. Everything we've been to, we've had fun.
Oh, amazing. I'm so glad you managed to do so much with us. It's brilliant. And what Arts for Dementia workshops have you been involved with, and what were your initial impressions? I suppose you've just answered that really, but I wonder what your
what were your initial impressions when you go into a group?
Oh, they're just so welcoming, and you meet everybody and you find new friends, and it's really marvelous.
Lovely, relaxed atmosphere.
Yes, and I love the pianist there.
Yes, well, you remember the pianist very well.
Music always makes the heart sing, doesn't it?
It's always improves the world.
It does. And you have been joining me with our Art Wednesday sessions each week online. What do you most enjoy about the Art Wednesday sessions?
Well, I think what we like most is the variety in terms of the activity, the wide range. I mean, my favorite was drawing to music, for example. Back on the music theme again. But there was just such a variety and outside guests as well. And one of the things we really like is that there were people from all over the country. Because we were doing it on Zoom, we were able to be in contact with people we wouldn't have been otherwise.
Yeah.
You get a little pocket into a little part of the UK, don't you? And we've obviously done a few art forms, looked at different art forms with Art Wednesdays, and also you've done the clay for dementia and the dance and the music. I wonder for both of you, what's your favourite art form that you've done with Arts for Dementia?
I think it was moving to music. That's so relaxing, because it gives you the beat, it gives you a sense of movement, and you don't have to think about it. You just go, and the pianist was excellent.
And I was going to say one of Harry's very favorite activities was clay.
Oh yes.
Which was something new that he hadn't done before, and I hadn't done either. And both of us enjoyed it very much. And we have now a flat filled with
clay
creations.
And also, I don't know what that was for you, but the not looking and just going over not following the pencil, laying the pencil, your mind moved the pencil, and then filling in all the strange shapes that you suddenly have created. That was great fun.
Yes, there's something quite therapeutic, isn't there?
It is, absolutely.
Colouring in. Oh, I'm so glad that you've got clay and pots and all sorts around the house after that. And are there any sessions, I suppose you probably answered this as well, but any sessions that have been particularly enjoyable, or would you say it's the clay and the music?
Certainly the clay is marvelous, because you get your mind and your hands working together, and the music is just so relaxing to dance to music. It takes away your tension.
I think the key is the variety, so that you don't feel as if you're only doing one thing, and the whole world of possibilities opens up to you. Also, from our point of view, we're lucky we live in an area where there are lots of interesting shops, and so doing these activities makes us look at things in the windows differently. For example, to take clay, if you've done some clay, you see that this is a pot that's you know, very difficult to do. Look at what they've done around the bottom, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? When you know, when we've had the Science Museum, for example, come along to our sessions and they introduce you to a whole new kind of object, you think, oh,
Yes.
look at that completely differently now.
Or if we had a session when someone came from the Wallace collection and introduced us to a painting in a new way, a way that was new to me, just taking a little section of it, not showing us the whole thing. And we looked at that little section, and then we looked at it, and then we got to see the whole thing. Well, we can now go out and look at stuff in the window and just look at a little section. Let's just look at the handbag.
Handbag, yes.
And, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It does make you look at your own things in a very different way. But I think taking little sections at a time is far more interesting, I think.
Yes, yeah. And you realize the incredible dexterity of the painters. You see a little bit of it, and you think, goodness, how many brushstrokes go into that little tiny corner?
Yeah, it's made me look differently when I go to a gallery now, rather than trying to take the whole thing in
one.
Just go and spend a little time at each section. We kind of need our own like little binoculars, or
exactly. I carry my binoculars with me.
Yeah.
Oh,
brilliant, thank you. And I wondered as well, going back to Art Wednesdays, where we had to move everything online on Zoom because we weren't allowed out, and we had to kind of shield ourselves. I wonder how that sort of helped during the pandemic, being able to still meet online, and whether that was helpful for you.
Yes, I think so. Because it gives us activity and makes us move. And just walking helps slowly with me.
I think what Harry means is it gets him out of his chair. Yeah. You sit down somewhere else and do something. It was wonderful. Frankly, it was wonderful. I mean, I describe myself as Chief Entertainment Officer, and the Chief Entertainment Officer was delighted that there was something that was regular in the schedule, because we stayed home for quite a long time because of underlying conditions. And to get a structure in your week was very important. This came on Wednesdays. It was always a sunny Wednesday. That was guaranteed. We had good weather. And we met, there was a regular group. There were people who were coming and going and joining, and that was nice. But you'd see what we would describe as online friends, and that was very very nice. It worked so very well. I never would have thought that it would have been so successful as an online activity for us, but it was.
Oh, good. And long may it continue.
Absolutely. Please continue.
Oh, thank you. And last but not least, for anybody thinking that they may want to join an Arts for Dementia activity, or who haven't joined in any kind of arts activities before, what would you say to those people thinking about joining us?
Oh, try it, because it's just such an amazing atmosphere. You meet interesting people, and it sort of stretches your mind. No, I think it's a stunning program, because you look at things differently after you've been there.
I would say, don't hold back. Have a go.